Welcome back to EngineCraft Garage. Today we got a SYX Moto, little dirt bike. A subscriber had reached out to me and asked if I wanted this for my son because I was looking for one for him and I couldn't find one for a good price. It's a little beat up and it's missing some stuff. It doesn't have the front brake caliper, which I can probably find that. It's just a little tiny 50cc engine. The recoil doesn't work, so we're gonna have to dig into that. It's my son's birthday coming up, so I'm going to see if I can get this running before his birthday, so he might be able to. He's too small to ride on this stuff, but I should be able to get it running at least for him. It's got some cracked plastics. Little exhaust out the back. It's pretty cool. The exhaust is in pretty bad shape here. But I think I can take that off, get it cleaned up. Look under here. Yeah, those bolts are going to be fun to get off. I could probably get it cleaned up and painted, at least looking halfway decent. The frame looks like it's got no rust on it. Plastics up here seem to be okay-ish. I don't see anything too. I'm sure these SYX Motos, these dirt bikes are a dime a dozen, and I'm sure I can buy kits for these online if this is a decent running bike. So it's got this little baby carburetor down here. I'm sure we'll have to dig into that. The fuel filter looks a little old. So first thing I want to do is pull this off and see what's going on with that pull start. This video is probably going to take be over the course of, a few days, just because I have other things that I need to work on for customers. So, personal stuff kind of gets pushed to the wayside. What I'm assuming is the little pawls that swing out probably broke. And I'm assuming, I don't know what year this is or anything. Every time I've seen one of these things, they all look exactly the same. So ordering parts for these probably isn't too difficult, just considering there's probably a million of them out there. So getting a new recoil assembly is probably pretty cheap. We'll take this off and see what's going on. Ooh. So why aren't you working? This all looks fine. These look good. This is pulling. Well, it's not locked up. Well, I want to see if this thing's got spark. So what do you say we get something to go on this nut here? The plug? I don't really know what to say about it. Usually two strokes are pretty dark. So it looks like somebody might have tried cleaning the plug because it wasn't running. Put that in there. And let's see. Oh yeah, we got spark. It's faint, but it's there. I don't know how much compression is supposed to be in here, but I'm assuming at least 100, maybe, for a two-stroke. See that? Come on. Why are you doing that to me? There we go. What is happening? It's supposed to be on drift. All right, I'm done with that. So it looks like we got about 120. That should be more than enough compression to run this. So a super weak spark. I'm gonna see if I can order a different plug, maybe an NGK for this, because that thing is just not good. I'm just surprised that it's not at least even just trying to start. All right, so that's not working. Let's see if we could at least get this to work. I don't know if these have to be. I wonder if somebody tried to mess with this. It's supposed to be driving these paws down. I can see it. Oh, this in here is not turning at all. It looks like it's turning here, but see, when I pull it, here, you can see now. That's what's happening. This isn't turning. It's just sliding on there. So let's get this apart and see what's going on. All right, what do we got here? Who's gonna fit in there? Not any of those. What about you? Yeah. All right. That's why. This broke off. So all we got to do is bend this back and get it to loop in here. And that should be fixed. We just got to make sure that we can get something that will loop in there. So let me go get some needle nose. Prefer to take this out, but as a lot of people know, with getting these, oh, there's the broken piece right there. Getting these out is usually a nightmare, or getting them back in, I should say, is usually a nightmare. Come on. Let me go grab a flathead. You can pry that out. You can see it right there. Oh, my bad. Right there. Oh, I got one right here. Get out of there. Come on. There you go. There's the broken piece. That goes with any of my other viewers or subscribers. If you got something that you want to see brought back to life, my contact email is on the page, and just reach out to me and see if we can set something up. I am in the Metro Detroit area, so if you live in this area, obviously, not going to be going out of state, at least not anytime soon. All right. Will you work? Oh, that looks like a very, well, could. Yeah. See if that will do. Yep. Works good. All right, back over to here. Boop, 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 doo. These bolts all fell off. I found them. I find you. All right. Let's get this back on. There we go. Get these screws back in. See if it, yeah, good on that. So I'm going to be kind of doing like a full restoration on this just because it is for my son. So let's see. All right, the pull start works. So let's get some fuel back down the throat of this thing. Move you. There we go. Some fuel back down this and see if we can at least get it to fire. I don't know what the premix for this is either. 90% of the stuff that I have or have used is usually 50 to 1. I'd probably err on the side of caution with this one and maybe do 40 to 1 just because I don't know. Sounded like it wanted to. Let's try that again. This time I'm not going to tighten the spark plug all the way down. I'm just going to finger tighten it. See what we get. You know you want it to. All right, let's try it now. All right, we at least know that it runs. Or it will kind of start up. Is that fuel there? On. Is there anything in this? It looks like it's just oil. Let me see if I can get you guys in there. It literally looks like it's just oil in there. I'm gonna have to flush that tank out. It's a good thing it's plastic. So, let's start getting some of this off. I'm definitely gonna have to pull that carburetor because it's probably just shot. It's probably just filled with oil. Honestly, not the worst thing because at that point it's probably just all oil. So let me start taking some of this stuff apart. I should probably try to take this exhaust off just so I can start trying to clean this up. Actually, it looks like it might clean up pretty good. Just taking these bolts off is going to be the nightmare. So if you guys didn't know, a lot of people use PB Blaster. I use PB Blaster myself all the time. But if you really want to get something that's stuck off, this is a 50-50 mix of acetone and ATF. This will work better than any bolt remover you have ever used. I promise you. An old school mechanic showed me this a long time ago. And I kind of believed him on it. But then I watched a Project Farm video, and he really confirmed it. So, not that it works like a million times better than any other penetrant, but it does work better than the majority of them, and it has been proven to remove bolts faster or with less force. This one feels like it wants to go in, but there's a bunch of crud in there, so let's see. Well, getting that bolt out was a lot easier than I anticipated. That one, and I think there's one more, yep. There we go. Ow. Exhaust is free. I'm just going through and removing all these graphics. They look awful. They're done poorly, and they just peel right off. It makes all the plastics look a lot better anyways. I mean, they were put on haphazardly. So, off they go. All right, it's next day. We're going to continue on this STX Moto dirt bike. But the first thing I want to do is get all of these plastics off here because they're just getting in the way. And since I'm doing kind of like a full restoration, more like a restoration, as you can see, I did take off all of the plastics, or I didn't take off all the plastics, yeah. I took off all the stickers, just because I think it looks better. Just kind of taking bolts out, hoping this is what they go to. All right, what are you still on? All right, so we got one here. Hopefully it's all the same bolt, which makes this really easy. I do want to kind of firm this seat up too. All right, so that should be just about everything. Yep. Look at that. Go easy. This whole thing just comes off. That's nice. Yeah, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to fix this as well as take all these screws out so I can, it looks like they tried to re-skin this seat and didn't pull it tight enough. So we'll get that tank off later. Basically, I want to get this muffler out. I'm probably going to end up pulling this whole engine. I mean, there's not much to it. I think there's 4 bolts that hold the engine on, 4 or 5 bolts. So let's get a socket on that. Does this go all the way through? No, it does not. All right, so let's see. 10? Yep. Let's get this exhaust off here. I gotta repaint it. It's pretty rusty. All right, let's see if we can get this out. I can tell this is gonna be a pain. Well, how many turns do I gotta do to get this thing out? Where's that flange on it? There we go. That was a pain. So here's the muffler. Here's the rust on it. I'm just gonna, a lot of it just looks like it's just gonna wipe away. So I'm just gonna clean this up and then put some paint down on it. Oh, that was weird. I wasn't recording for some reason. All right, so the next thing we have to do is get this chain off so we can get the engine out. So I loosened the axle nut here, and now I'm just loosening the chain tension. Now, the thing about it, like right now, the chain is a little too loose. When I had it, it was super tight. So on dirt bikes, you want it to be a little bit loose, because once you put tension on to the suspension, like if you hit a bump or something, this is going to tighten up. And if it's too tight, you can either blow your chain off or blow it apart, but you'll also put excessive wear on your sprockets. So in a lot of the manufacturer's guides, there is specifications from like the swing arm to the bottom of the chain in a certain position. So if you don't know and you need to tighten your chain, and you have the service manual, it will tell you right in there that that's what you need to do. All right, let's just loosen these nuts here. Loosen this chain. This chain needs to come off because it is it's kind of a mess. All right, I'm gonna keep loosening this. That's loosened all the way. I need to get this rear tire off of here because I need to clean all that up as well. There's the axle nut. That guy out. Spacer. Has disc brakes, shockingly. That chain off, and we should be able to pull this out. There we go. Oh. All right, now to get this engine out. Yeah, there's quite a few hard spots in this. I'm gonna see if I can free it up. If you ever have like any spots, all of the chain should bend uniformly like this, but if there's any hard spots, that's not good. All right, next thing we gotta do is loosen the bolts on the bottom of this and hopefully get this engine out of here. So let's go ahead and give this a little tilt. Get you guys in here. This is just covered in oil. And last but not least, oh, that was a ground. And there's supposed to be a nut on the other side. I tore that off, but I can fix it. There we go. That nut comes out realistically. Get the spark plug out of here. That doesn't really matter. There is something here, but I might be able to unplug it. All right, let's get some snips and cut that out. There we go. Just a little zip tie. There we go. Looks like these wires are all tucked in here by a metal strap. All right, so this goes down to here. So it's just a plug terminal like that. And I should be able to release this whole thing. If this bolt wants to come out. What is on the other side? Oh, that nut's still on there. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is, this rain is coming down. There we go. Keep all the same nuts and bolts together. All right, how about now? Oh, there goes that fuel line. Chain over the swing arm. You gotta be kidding me. I just can't get the chain out. I have to take the whole swing arm off? That's insane. All right, there's your engine. Let's get this cap off for the carburetor. Oh, it's already screwing right off. There we go. And that's it. This is the whole engine right here. So this gearbox, if you want to call it that, I'm sure this is just filled with grease. The rest of this I can probably just clean out. And it looks like to get this carb off, I'm not sure, but definitely gonna have to do a lot of cleaning. So let's get this over to the bench and start breaking into it. All right, so far the only thing that I bought for this is a new spark plug, and hopefully that's all I have to buy for right now. Air filter, it's already loose. Let's get that off here if I can. There we go. All right, so that's off. This has like a little intake system here, which is, here you are. Get this little intake boot off. Super simple choke. That's it. And we got some bolts here that I'm assuming hold the carb on. That is too big. Let's see what we got here. How about you? Yep. One bolt out. And two. And I think this should allow us to get into the carburetor here. Yep, there we go. I'm not going to mess with this unless I see an issue, but this here, you guys can't see, sorry. This is just an intake spacer. Yeah, it's just a gearbox here. This doesn't look bad. Those teeth actually look pretty good. Once they start shark finning, which means they start narrowing and they get to a point, that's when you want to start replacing things. But I'm going to open this just to see if we got any. It's definitely not going to be oil. It's probably just going to be grease. So let's get into that. Carb out of the way for a second. If it is just grease, we'll just repack it with some new stuff. Oh, so these are different. So the short one, then the long one. I'm gonna, and then this one. That's why you always got to be careful when you're taking these bolts out, because sometimes they're different sizes. Another long one, I guess the long one's in the middle, the shorter one's on the outside. All right, let's open this up and see what's inside. Well, it's just grease, small chain. Looks like we have some old stuff here, which we're gonna get out. We're just gonna squirt some new stuff in here, and that should be more than fine. I don't know what kind of grease it calls for, but this is the kind that I have in my grease gun. Is just some Lucas. Any grease is better than no grease. There we go. Just hold it like that. Just put some here. Put some here. It's all going to get flung around anyways, but some on the bearings here. Here. Overall, it doesn't look too bad. Call that a win on that. So it should be enough of greasing it up. Put some more here. There we go. All right, I'm good with that. Pop this cover back on, and we'll call that good. This does not have a gasket, and I'm assuming it's because it's grease. It did have dowels. Let's run these back in, and then we'll start digging into the carburetor. That just looks as awful as it gets. I'm gonna tighten this in a star pattern, I don't know why, but maybe it does something. Probably not. All right, that's good to go. I did buy a new plug for this. I bought an NGK. I'm really not, I don't see any like, I guess there's some, this is just mud. I don't see any oil that's, a lot of times in two strokes, they won't run right or have some, oh, I can see the piston in there, and the rings look pretty good. If you get oil coming out around here or around the jug or anything like that, that typically indicates you got some kind of a blown gasket. And yeah, so far I don't see anything that's indicating or telling me that this is blowing oil out. So we're gonna set the engine aside, which is crazy that it's just this little thing. Let's start looking at this carburetor. Come on. All right, so first thing, we got to get this bowl off. Got to get rid of this absolutely petrified fuel line or overflow. There we go. Looks pretty simple. We'll get this petcock out. I don't know if it's any good anymore. It doesn't look like it's good. Does it have a... it just keeps turning. So let me check this. All right. Fuel line's in. It's straight up and down. I'm going to blow into it. That's blocked. To the side. Blocked. No matter which way I turn this, this is blocked. So this petcock's bad. I wonder if we can rebuild it. Take that apart. Put that off to the side just for the moment. This is a carb spacer, so we're going to take that off if we can. Jeez. I don't really want to damage it because I don't really know how to find parts for this thing. I guess we'll just leave it on there. Whatever. All right, so here is the air fuel mixture. Let's see how many turns we are. That's half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. Yeah, about 3 turns in. Or 3 turns out is what it was set at. That stock, I have no idea, but I'm going to pull that guy out. There we go. And then we're going to take this bowl off. And my guess is it's going to be filled with oil, but you never know. There we go. That's a good whack. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. This just kind of bobs on here. I'd say that jet is clogged, but I don't know. You guys tell me. I am going to have to push this out. Get this jet out. If it will come out. There we go. I got it. Yeah, that's plugged solid. All right, I'm gonna have to get something to push this little needle out. See if you will work. This one looks thin enough. There we go. That was simple. Get this guy off. It's really strange. Get this needle out. Needle is stuck in there. Not a good sign. You can see the corrosion in there. I'm gonna get some pliers and kind of just work at it a little bit. Oh, there we go. It popped out. That is a rubber. So that means the seat in there is probably okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this gasket off. Might just have to put it in the ultrasonic with it. And finding another one is probably going to be like, I don't know. All right, well, we're just going to put all this stuff in the ultrasonic. All right, let's get our tiny stuff in first. Tiny. There we go. Jet. Float, I'll just throw in there. Actually, before we do that, let's take apart this petcock and see if any of this stuff will work. Yeah, you can see right here, when I turn this, nothing happens. So let's see if we can take this apart. What do you got inside? Any surprises? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, one side there. Side there. I don't know. Is this just really clogged up? Let's get this guy in the ultrasonic too. In you go. You go. Man, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is windy outside. Make sure this choke's open. Drop that guy in there. Make sure it's fully submerged. Turn it on. And see you in a little bit. Oh, I didn't even show you guys the bowl. Look at that. It looks great. No, it sure doesn't. So let's get the bowl in there too. All right, I'm just going through and blowing everything off. The carburetor itself, the body, cleaned up really well. The needle, see here, there's still a bit of corrosion on here. That's nothing due to the ultrasonic. That's just corrosion itself. I still think it will work fine until I get a replacement. And then the bowl itself, that's all corrosion in there. There's a little bit of gunk left in there, which I'll just kind of dig out with the pick. The rest of this is actually just all just corrosion on there that doesn't come off. That's as clean as this bowl is going to get. So I'll blow this off really quick, spray it down with a little bit of degreaser to make sure we get every little bit. Oh, and the main jet. You can see through it now, can you? You see through it? There you go. See it? So we should be good there. So let's start getting this bottom end buttoned up. All right, so I got that about as clean as I can get. All right, so we have this, and these. So the first thing we got to do is put our main jet in. The thing I think is weird is there's just a main jet. There's no pilot. So let's see how that goes. And then see how this needle fits in here. Slides in and out pretty good. So let's get this slid in here. Drop that in. And then put our pin in. There we go. And then the float, which I think go like this. Like this. Can't remember. I think it was like this. Yeah, it was like this. All right, last but not least, we get our bowl back on, and I'm going to put a little bit of the right stuff RTV on here because I don't know how good this gasket is, and I just had it in ultrasonic, so let's put a little smear of that on there. Just some little dabs, like so. Then basically I'm just going to make it as a very thin layer. So we'll go through here and just make it as thin as possible on here. go. Once that whole edge is covered. My opinion on RTVs, I do think there's better RTVs out there, but there's no RTV that you can put right to work in less than a minute. And the right stuff, you can. So in that aspect, it is what I use for everything with small engines, just because it works the best for that those applications. All right. That screw really just strip out. Cheap aluminum. Yep, sure did. Pulled the threads. Man, that did not take much, I'll tell you that. Unless these are the bolts. So these are a little bit longer. I feel like these might be the bolts. Let's check this out. Boop, 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 doo. It's back on. Put these longer bolts in. I feel like should be in there. Could have this messed up. All right, let's try this. There we go. And all this stuff, this is very cheap cast aluminum, and yeah, you'll strip it out pretty easily if you're not careful, like I just did. So mind yourself. All right, so where are we at? All right, so I got a plan here. Just take a drink really quick. So basically, I just made this little plug here. There's that spring washer that's going to apply tension, pushes against here. That's going to fit in there like that. And then this is going to be the hold down, and it's basically just going to allow gas to just free flow. So what I want to do is get a little bit of first, there's a little bit of corrosion in here I still want to pick out. Get all that junk out. Pull through this as best as I can. All right, we should be golden. I'm not going to use that anymore. So they're nice and tight. All right. Put this little gasket slash screen on here. Should still be good. And we just got to mount this here. See, the thing that sucks about this petcock is you can't just replace... I mean, you could probably find the part and just replace the petcock, but it's part of the carburetor. It's not like it's in line or attached to the tank or anything where it could just be, like, removed and you can just hardline it, but... So that's why I just wanted to plug it off. So we're using the existing fuel inlet on this. That one. Oh, come on, drop in there. Turn you upside down. There we go. Now, if I do this, we should get some air blowing through like this. Let's try it. Yep, and then if we flip it upside down, we shouldn't get anything. And we do. So I don't know if that float works the way that it's supposed to. I don't think there's enough pressure pushing on this to actually like close the float unless there's fluid in there. To be completely honest, because otherwise, I mean, you guys seen the float that's in there. It's just kind of sitting there. So I guess the only thing that we can really do is put some fuel down in this and see if we get overflow. All right, so we're back on this here mini bike. I got to get this bolt off because I looked for a master link on this. There is no master link. So I'm going to get this off, and by taking the sway bar out, or the pivot arm, not the sway bar. That is not a sway bar. Pivot arm out, and then we'll see if we can get this chain off. All right, what's holding you on? You got a nut on this side. There we go. Leaking some fuel out the bottom. I'm gonna go grab something for that. Let's just turn in the bolt. See if I got something for that. Sure. That out. Should I disconnect this? Yeah, I should probably disconnect the shock. Just putting tension on it, so might as well. See if that helps. Not really. There we go. Flip that out of the way. That should make things easier. There we go. Now that we can get that off, we got the chain. I'm going to have to soak this in the ultrasonic for a while, and then also I'm probably going to end up soaking it in some oil for a long time. Yeah, looking throughout this whole thing, there is not a single master link. Huh. Because, you know, that would have been too easy. All right, so it's a few days later. We're going to continue working on this 50cc dirt bike. I got the engine back in. I got a tube hooked up to it, so we're going to see if the engine kicks over now. So we have this on. We'll flip the choke on. And let me get you in the stand. Let's see if we can get this thing to bark off. Usually the two strokes like a little bit of throttle. So let's see. Really quickly, and wow, that was loud. Let's get the exhaust back on there. That was ridiculously loud. Painted the exhaust. It looks decent. I used some rust paint and then just some high heat paint. Hopefully that'll do the trick. I think it's just really congested today. A lot of stuff in the shop. Let's get that one started. Oh. This one started. Just gotta get this back end bolted back up. Just like that. That one goes on there. Alright, let's get wrench on these. Use a drill. Kind of. All right, let's see how she sounds now with the can attached. Choke out again, which cans we got. We should have enough to run it. Alright, so we got all that stuff together. The next thing we should probably do is start getting this back end back on. Getting this all buttoned up. I'll cut that stuff out for you. You guys see me take it off. I'll put it back on the opposite way. So I'll bring it back in once we get some of that stuff buttoned back together. Alright, so I got the chain on. And then right now we're just trying to put the rear tire on. So we put this on, and this is to set how far this tire comes back or forward to set chain tension. And right now, you also want to make sure that this tire is tracking straight. Right now it's pretty straight, but the chain is too tight, and that's because one of the sides is tighter than the other. So we're just going to sit here and adjust this, because this right here, oh, you guys can't see, this right here is too tight. As soon as we get a little bit of compression in that shock, the chain's going to tighten even more, and it can cause damage. So what we got to do is loosen this. Actually got this side forward. Then once you get this adjusted on actual real dirt bikes, there's notches here, and they'll line up from here, and then on the frame here there'll be a notch. So you can count the number of notches and do the same on the opposite side. These cheap ones, usually you're supposed to have a lock nut behind here too, so this adjustment doesn't move. But on here, the only thing that's going to be locking it down is the axle nut. So these, once you get it set, doesn't really matter as much, just when you're doing the adjustment. So that seems good there. This side just does not want to slide in. I'm going to make sure that this chain is, staying in line. That's not too bad of a slack there. Like I said, This looks pretty straight right now. So we're gonna lock this down. And we're just gonna vice grip that one. All right, let's lock this axle nut down. Yeah, that chain tension seems pretty decent. All right, let's start this thing with the tire on, see how it moves a little bit of weight. Might have to adjust a couple things. All right, so the things that I did to this that I didn't have on film or on camera, I hooked up the fuel tank here. I put in a new fuel line, so it's coming just from down here. Put a new fuel filter in and a fuel shutoff since we, discoed this one, deleted. And then the only thing I have left to do, the seat was kind of sagging in some spots. So all you got to do is pull out the staples here, and then I just stretched it and restapled it. So it looks pretty good now. These marks are a little raised, but that's just because they were kind of folded up, and that's why they're darker. Once I clean the seat, it should look pretty good. Oh, a little update over here. So I finally got an upgrade on my ultrasonic. Here was my old one, and then this one is double the size. So that one should work out a lot better than that little guy. The only reason I upgraded was because a lot of the times when I put carburetors in here, they wouldn't fit, or I had to put them in there, and then I had to like flip them to get them fully clean. With that one, I shouldn't have to do that. All right, let me get this all back together as best as I can, and then I'll bring in, show you it, and we'll hear it run. Well, this SYX Moto is all wrapped up. So now we're just going to give it a little start, choke on, a little throttle. Choke off. She is a ripper, that's for sure. I am unfortunately a little too big to ride this, I think. I would Oh yeah, I'm just maxing this thing out. Let's see. Yeah, there's absolutely no weight, but it's great for kids. Well, thanks for watching another episode of EngineCraft. I am over 500 subscribers now, which is awesome. That's my first goal. So if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe to help me reach my next goal of 1,000 subscribers so I can continue to put out more content. But other than that, I appreciate you staying this long, watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.